Another thing that's very interesting about, in Imam al-Busiri's Burda, when he talks about the Isra, he says, وَبِتَّ تَرْقَى إِلَى أَنْ نِلْتَ مَنْزِلَةً مِنْ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ لَمْ تُدْرَكْ وَلَمْ تُرَمِ. You continued to go up in rank until you got to Qaba Qawsayn, this rank of 2 bows lengths that had never been achieved before. Even Jibreel had to stop and let him go. And then, but what's very interesting, وَقَدَّمَتْكَ جَمِيعَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ بِهَا وَالرُّسُلُ تَقْدِيمًا مَخْدُومًا عَلَى خَدَمِ. And all the prophets, they put you forward. And he says, وَأَنْتَ تَخْتَرِقُ السَّبْعَ الطِّبَاقَ بِهِمْ فِي مَوْكِبٍ كُنْتَ فِيهِ صَاحِبَ الْعَالَمِ. And you broke through the 7 heavens with them in a procession. You were the standard bearer in that procession of all these prophets. But then what he says, which is very interesting, he says, بُشْرَى لَنَا مَعْشَرِ الْإِسْلَامِ فحزت كل فخار غير مشترك وجزت كل مقام غير مزدحم. MashaAllah. It's a very beautiful section of the Burda. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ibn Abbas relates, he said, علمني ربي ليلة الإسراء علوم شتى. That my Lord taught me many knowledges on the night of the Isra. And but then he says, بُشْرَى لَنَا مَعْشَرَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِنَّ لَنَا مِنَ الْعِنَايَةِ رُكْنًا غَيْرَ مُنْهَدِمِ لَمَّا دَعَى اللَّهُ دَاعِينَ لِطَاعَتِهِ بِأَكْرَمَ الرُّسُلِ كُنَّ أَكْرَمَ الْأُمَمِ. When he says, after he talks about the Isra, Imam al-Busiri says, what good news we have, O people of submission, because we have a providential care, a pillar of support that can never be destroyed, this pillar of the Prophet ﷺ. And then he says, when God called his Prophet and said, O best of messengers, by that we became the best of What's really interesting, I just want to read you this because I thought this was so extraordinary. لما كان في قوله من العناية إيهام ودعوة من غير دليل فسر ذلك أو ذكر دليل فسر ذلك أو ذكر دليله بقوله لما دعا الله يعني لما سمى الله نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الذي هو داعينا لطاعته جل وعلا بأكرم الرسل. لازم من ذلك أن كنا نحن الذين هم أمته أكرم الأمم عنده جل وعلا، لأن أكرم الرسل لم يبعث إلا إلى أكرم الأمم، فجميع من بعث إليهم خير الأمم، مؤمنهم خير المؤمنين وكافرهم خير الكافرين. I just thought that was so amazing. قال تعالى وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. So he says that when Imam al-Busiri says that God called the one who called us to his obedience by the best of messengers, we then must be the best of nations, because that's his dalil, that the fact that he's akram al-rusul makes kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. But then he says that the believers of this ummah are the best believers and the kafirun are the best kafirun, which is very interesting to me, because if you look, never in history have there been so many people that are espousing the truths that the Prophet ﷺ was espousing at a time when nobody had articulated those things. Like the Prophet is the first, there's no human being that I've ever seen in history, in all the readings I've done, and I've asked people to show me, I've never seen anybody make the remark about human equality that the Prophet ﷺ made. I don't find anywhere in human history anybody that said there is no preference of a white man over a black man or a black man over a white man. or an Arab over a non-Arab, or a non-Arab over an Arab, except in piety. I haven't found anything that even comes close to that in really attacking racism at its root. And that now has become, people that don't even believe in God have come to accept that as a truth, whereas that was not widely acknowledged at all. In fact, it wasn't really acknowledged. Superiority was a common belief in the pre-modern world of tribal, racial, religious superiority, whatever. And also women's rights, just the elevation of women, the abolition of slavery. I mean, all of these things that have happened in this, which is very clear that it's like his ummah is not just the people that believe in him, but it's all the people of the world that are in existence after he comes into the world. So we believe they're the ummah because the ummah is divided into ummatul da'wah wa ummatul istijaba. The ummah of da'wah, the ummah of invitation, people that are invited to the Prophet ﷺ to accept him, to believe in him, and then the people that answer that invitation, because people have a choice. And even that, la ikraha fid din, right? I mean, before the Prophet ﷺ, religion was about coercion, right? People were forced to believe in things that they didn't necessarily want to believe in once people got into power. So if you look at religious traditions, once they got into power, rarely do you find in human history religions that were tolerant of other religions. And the Muslims have their blemishes. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But in terms of the pre-modern world, they have by far the best record of any civilization. But the moderns have become more tolerant. I mean, there's nothing in human history that parallels Western tolerance, post-Enlightenment tolerance of religions. Nothing. Which is quite extraordinary because, I mean, to me, it's proof of what, because this Imam, I mean, he was writing over 100 years ago, but I just thought that was very interesting that he said that even the people that don't believe in him are the best of those times. Isn't that an interesting point? I mean, I just thought that was so interesting to me. Alhamdulillah. So what time does the Isha